Nick C. In Scientology's legendarium, do Thetans have gender? According to the legend of Xenu, if I understand it correctly, the society over which Xenu ruled was not unlike the human society, so before Xenu started calling them in for tax audits, Thetans must have been male and female, or was it just their bodies? Thetans do not have sex or gender of any kind. They are amorphous blobs of theta matter, right? They don't have existence in the physical universe as such. They have an awareness of the physical universe and location and like where they're located is simply where they're aware of being located. There is no physical universe existence for a Thetan or a spiritual being in Scientology. So the whole concept of gender and identity in that fashion is alien to a Thetan. It's part of the trap of the messed universe, the physical universe, right? The messed universe, matter, energy, space, and time, right? The Scientology term for all of this. It's part of the trap of this, that sex exists and it is a sensation. Hubbard talks about the fact that Thetans crave and love to experience sensation through bodies, right? Bodies experience sensation, and Thetans love it. They think it's great, to be able to experience that sort of thing, because Thetans don't experience sensation as such. They don't have pain receptors and touch receptors and things like that, because they don't exist in the physical universe. So they're simply playing this game of running a body, right, in the world, and it's kind of like a big LARP game. It's kind of like a big online multiplayer, game that Thetans are involved in, right? Like, we don't have a digital existence, like we don't, right? That we have an avatar, it exists in a digital world. That digital world is not reality, right? It's not a physical universe reality. So that would be an analogy to what I'm talking about, right? Where you're occupying this other world and this person who's in this other world and experiencing life through their eyes in the game world, right? But that doesn't mean that's you. It has nothing to do with that, right? Now, as far as the whole Xenu thing goes, something that's very interesting that I talk about in my book, because it's not really ever talked about anywhere. I mean, everybody gets, the Thetans and the DC-10s and the volcanoes and stuff. But there's a lot to the Xenu story that is missed. And one of the things that's missed is that, yes, it was a human-like society before Xenu did his, galactic genocide, but life was very, very different before that whole thing went down. There wasn't religion as such. There was not, people didn't die. The bodies that people had, according to Hubbard, lasted nearly forever. I mean, they just lasted and lasted and lasted. They didn't really die. You could kill them in accidents and stuff, and Hubbard talked about how people would sort of have, accidents to get rid of their body, and they knew that they were going to come back around and get another body. And he doesn't really get into female-male thing. I think bodies were created the same way we still do, through sex, I think. But the Xenu incident and all of the, there was a lot of, after all the volcanoes and the explosions and all that, there was all this implanting that occurred where people were sat down and before all these, screens and implanted with all these ideas. And a bunch of those ideas had to do with religion. Hubbard says that all of Catholicism and Christianity was installed at that point, all the symbology of it with the crosses and the angels and devils and all that. And the idea of aging and mortality of bodies came in at that point. And obsession with, if I remember right, there was, a certain degree of obsession with sex. And, you know, because when you decrease the amount of time somebody's living, then you increase the obsessive behavior about sex, because sex results in more bodies, or you're making babies, right? Which results in more bodies for a Thetan to inhabit after his current body dies, right? And when you don't have to worry about that, then sex is not really, you know, such a big thing. It's fun, it's a fun sensation, but it's not something you would obsess about as far as making babies and stuff, right? If you had a body that lived thousands and thousands of years, you know, having a baby and raising and, you know, making a family and stuff might not be such a big deal. But if you needed another body, you know, if you needed more bodies to be being made, so that you would have bodies to inhabit, you know, when your current body dies after 70 years, then you're going to obsess on sex a lot more. And that was, at least all of what I just said is kind of, you know, Hubbard talk for why this, you know, why sex is so important and why people obsess on it. So that's kind of part of that Xenu package. So life was very, very different back then, right? And Hubbard, in creating this picture of this, I don't think he really thought the thought through very much, because he compared pre-Xenu galactic life and livingness, right, in society, to a 1950s, 40s, 50s type of world. Fedora hats, fire trucks, and society a lot like it is now. But it wouldn't be anything like it is now if we didn't age, and if we were aware of our spiritual existence and the fact that we were coming, if we died, we were going to just get another body and keep going. Things like that would monumentally change the entire structure of society, and you would not have a society anything close to what we have now. So Hubbard didn't really, he just threw all this stuff off the top of his head, and I think he was, like I said many times, I think he was just making it up as he went along with a lot of this crap. And that is why that whole Xenu story just falls apart when you apply any critical thinking to it on so many fronts. The science of it doesn't work out. The sociology of it doesn't work out. The world building of it doesn't work out. I mean, it just, none of it makes sense. So, and I never heard anybody in the world of Scientology questioning these factors. A lot of the material, a lot of the information I'm giving you isn't part of OT3. It's not the stuff that people get when they just do the OT3 level. You have to also do this other thing called the Class 8 course, which is an auditor training course, where Hubbard goes into a lot more of these details about the whole Xenu story. So you put all of it together, which is what I did when I did my book, and you get a much bigger picture than just the body Thetans and the volcanoes and the DC-10s, right? So, or DC-8s or whatever. I can never remember if it's DC-8s or DC-10s, but anyway, that's what I can tell you about that. So no gender for Thetans, never had it, never will. Not part of the picture for the Thetanic existence.